Okay, so we were discussing the Indian tropical monsoon climate, and I said initially, based on Bansal's work, the Indian subcontinent were divided into six zones. Okay, and based on the recent observations and based on various study, a new classification was introduced in 2005 and it still remains the same. The only difference between this Bansal's classification and the classification that we have today is this has been clubbed. Cold and cloudy and sunny has been clubbed as cold seasons, I guess, cold regions, and moderate has been termed as temperate. Okay, there is no moderate word here. Now the word is temperate. Okay, so this is the only change that has occurred. Otherwise, the classification remains same throughout for 2015, 2005 and 2016 map that we have in National Building Code. Okay, so the northern Indian plains are under influence of hard dry wind called Lu. There are so many other factors that influences the climate of the region. Okay, so what we'll be seeing is one by one. So what are the implications of local phenomena that occurs throughout the Indian subcontinent, and as a result, how the climate changes. Okay, this is one concept that influences. In fact, that comes from the way Iranian Peninsula and passes through Indian subcontinent. Okay, and thus the whole of India south of Himalayas can climatically be classified as tropical. The seasonal reversal of wind in the Arabian Sea and Bay of Bengal gives a typical tropical monsoon climate for the Indian subcontinent. Okay, so because of these two variations, we have both monsoon and the distinct dry season. Okay, that happens throughout the Indian subcontinent. Okay, so half of the years we have hot air coming in from a different part of the deserts. Okay, and it crosses through the northern part of the Indian subcontinent, and in the later half of the year we have different situation that occurs because of the change in the climate in overall, and also because of the sea, both the seas that we have, we get cyclones. Okay, and as a result of it, we can experience two different seasons, two different distinct seasons, one wet and one dry throughout the Indian subcontinent. Okay, an analysis of climate of a particular region can help in understanding various aspects, which includes the design decisions. Okay, for example, we use this very often in architectural design decisions, like what is the climate and whether the strategies that we trying to adapt is okay with the climate or not. Okay, whether this particular climate will take these kind of strategies or not. Okay, similarly for even planting design, the understanding of the concept is very much essential, so that you make a conscious decision while planning and designing of landscape or planting, and in fact architectural designs as well. So that's what has been written here. An analysis of a climate of a particular region can help in assessing the seasons or a period during which the person may experience a comfortable or uncomfortable condition. It further helps in understanding the severity and what causes discomfort, and how we can cope up with how we can address or cope with the discomfort that we may encounter during the period of time. That is a broad introduction on how, if you have to basically understand why Indian subcontinent is called the tropical monsoon. Okay, because of there are two distinct reasons because of which the Indian subcontinent is called tropical monsoon. Okay, so if you see the seasons, that's the primary discussion that we are coming into it. If we see the Indian seasons, we can classify the entire season in 4 ways. One is cold weather season, that is winter season, that happens between November and March. Okay, and the hot weather season or the summer season, which occurs between March and June. And the southwest monsoon season, the rainy season that we or probably we are in the beginning of it, where we receive plenty of rain. Okay, rainy season, the third one. And the fourth one is retreating monsoon. Okay, so once this rain retreats, a cool season is as a result of it, we have a cool season arriving. Okay, so if you see the entire zone or entire Indian subcontinent can be classified in the seasons can be classified in 4 ways. Okay, winter, summer, rainy, and cool seasons. And of course, in each season there is a different variability of temperature, precipitation, the wind, and so on and so forth. And we will see in each season what happens and how do we understand the phenomena. Okay, so in the first case, the cold weather season or the winter season that occurs between November and March. January happens to be the coldest month in the India in the subcontinent. Okay, where the sun's apparent path is on the south of the equator, clear sky, pleasant weather, low temperature, low humidity, high range of temperature, and cool and slow in the winds in the northeast trade. Okay, if we know this global wind, okay, we have different wind patterns or the phenomena that occurs. Okay, so that also has an implication on the every parcel of the land, right? So in this case, okay, we observe a very pleasant and climate throughout this season. And the diurnal temperature during this period is some part of the country will be high. Okay, that is also one observation that we can see during the season. Yeah, if you see temperature as such, okay, so we within this winter season, okay, we are discussing, let us say, from November to March, where we are supposed it is classified as winter season. What happens in this season is in terms of characteristics, if we understand that, probably we'll have a better understanding on how the difference in climate, difference in precipitation, difference in the availability of the wind pressure, okay, Indian different places, we will be able to understand. Okay, so the isotherm of 20 degrees Celsius runs roughly parallel to the Tropic of Cancer. To the south of this isotherm, the temperature are above 20 degrees Celsius, and here there is no distinctly defined winter. Some parts of the Kerala, Tamil Nadu, we in fact experience more than 30 degrees Celsius as well during the same period of time. Okay, so the north mean temperature are normally below 21 degrees Celsius. So if you see this, even in the winters, okay, if we are talking from the entire Indian subcontinent, okay, that's why we have to discuss the broad and overall phenomena rather than speaking on a specific specific macroclimate of a particular region. So half of the Indian subcontinent we experience less than 20 degrees Celsius, and rest of the southern part of the southern and the central part of the India, where we experience temperature more than 20 degrees Celsius during this winter season as well. Okay, so in fact, it is recorded that during this season we in particularly in Tamil Nadu and Kerala, we may experience more than 30 degrees Celsius as well, and we know it for some reasons. And we also have cold regions as well. Okay, it's not about that. If you go further north, okay, the mean minimum temperature is about 5 degree over northwest of India, and 10 degree, yeah, and about 10 degree in the Gangetic plains. And the Ras Valley is considered to be the coldest place in Indian subcontinent. Okay, this is one of the pictures. I thought I'll just put it over there. And in 1908, a record negative 45 degrees Celsius were observed in this valley. Okay, so within this season itself, there is a huge variability in terms of temperature, observed temperatures. Okay, this is one thing that we should keep in mind. The second parameters is on the pressure. Okay, the wind pressure that is created because of the location. Okay, high air pressure prevails over large part of the northwest part of the India. Okay, due to low temperature coupled with divergence induced by a ridge of subtropical jet stream. Okay, actually, jet streams phenomena occurs throughout the globe. Okay, and it is also observed in the Indian subcontinent, and one such thing happens, or one because of which there is a difference in wind pressure that we observe during the month of winters. Okay, pressure is comparatively lower in the South India. This happens in probably in northwest and northeast part of the India. And if we see south or the southern part of the India, the pressure is less. During this time, the wind starts to blow from high pressure to low pressure area of northwest to the southeast. Okay, so from northwest to southeast, the observed wind is expected to flow. Okay, and in fact, if you remember, in architectural classes we normally put two diagrams. Okay, so this is kind of a abstract understanding on how wind flows in Indian subcontinent. Okay, so apart from the wind pressure, there are other things that happens that during the season. Okay, there is something called western disturbances that also happens during the winter season. Okay, the spell of yes.
So Meghna is trying to get in.
Just 1 second.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah. Okay, so the other characteristics that we can observe during the winter season is the western disturbances. The spell of fine weather over northwestern and northern India is often broken by this western disturbances. they intensify over Rajasthan, Punjab, and Haryana, and they move towards eastwards across the to Arunachal Pradesh. Okay, so even this has got an influence on the winter season that we face in the Indian subcontinent. Okay, and what is the implication of this western disturbance is there are two or three things that has been observed because of this. In some places we can expect snowfall. Okay, for example, here it says they cause light rain in Indian Gangetic Plain and slow fall in the Himalayan belt, and in other northern parts of the country, after the passage of disturbances, widespread of fog and cold waves with a temperature of 5 to 10 degrees Celsius or below are experienced. Okay, so this is also most of the time we refer this to the pollution and so on, but not only pollution, also because of the western disturbances that the northern part of the Indian subcontinent faces. Okay, so this is also one thing that happens during this winter season. And other that's about winter disturbances. What happens in the southern part of the country? Okay, in southern part of the country we have tropical cyclones during the winter as well. Okay, this is the season of least tropical cyclone activity. Otherwise, we have plenty of in the second season, where in the rainy season, probably we'll discuss how intense cyclone we encounter. Okay, so the frequency of cyclone decreases with advancement of season. Okay, so and this is because of the low sea temperature and also the existence of like we have jet stream, intercontinental streams that plays a role in defining the tropical cyclones in the Indian subcontinent. The storms which are bound it normally starts in the Bay of Bengal, okay, and strikes Tamil Nadu, and we get plenty of rain. Some of them crosses southern peninsula over Arabian Sea. Okay, some storms originate in Arabian Sea and move towards north and west as well. Okay, so from both the sides we encounter light cyclone, because this is not intense, but we do have cyclones arising during this period as well. How about precipitation? The other characteristics that we should understand, okay, apart from temperature, we have seen four, five things. Okay, one is temperature, other one is pressure, western disturbances, then tropical cyclone, and then we have precipitation. This is also called the retreating winter monsoon. It's the retreating winter monsoon picks up soon some moisture while crossing Bay of Bengal and causes winter rainfall in Tamil Nadu and south of Andhra Pradesh and Karnataka and so on other places. And in fact, these phenomena are so frequent and it happens so regularly that it's all mapped. Okay, that's why we are able to exactly figure out when this rain will fall and what is it called and so on and so forth. The highest seasonal rainfall of about 75 centimeter between October and December is observed as a result of this season. Okay, most of it occur along the southern part of the India, like I said. Therefore, it gradually decreases. The western disturbances also causes a little rain in the northwest part of the India. Okay, so during this season, we experience one characteristics in the northern part, and we experience a different characteristics in the southern part. Okay, and if you see in totality, we have a uh, very complex um, phenomena that is occurring throughout the Indian subcontinent. Okay. The amount of rainfall gradually decreases from north to northwest, and it is opposite in rainy season. We'll also see what happens. This is in the winter season. What happens in the rainy seasons? The reverse things happen. When we discuss about the rainy season, we'll see how both the things correlate. Okay, the northeast part of the India also gets rainfall during the winter period as well. Okay, so that is about the cold region. Okay, so the cold weather season, they are the winter season. If we have to characterize, or if we have to understand the winter season for the Indian subcontinent, we have to discuss all these characteristics that I have just mentioned. Okay, so from temperature, from pressure, from precipitation, and the other disturbances, western disturbances, and also the tropical cyclone that we encounter during the period of time. Okay, so that's about winter season. And what happens during the summer season? We will also discuss all these 4 or 5 characteristics in all seasons. Okay, so what happens during the summer season? High temperature and low humidity are the chief characteristics, sometimes referred to as pre-monsoon period. Okay, and what is the characteristics of the summer season that we face in Indian subcontinent? High sun's insolation, due to apparent movement of sun between the equator and the tropics. Okay, so if we observe the sun path, we know what is the angle. Okay, what is the angle in which we see the sun path. Okay, so in fact, in cases like Vijayawada, where we are living, the sun is in fact almost perpendicular, right? So the southern part of the country are distinctly warmer in March, April, whereas in June in the northern hemisphere, northern part of the India. In March, the highest temperature occurs in the southern part. We can observe a temperature of maximum of 40 to 45 degree Celsius. We can observe during the period of time. In April, the highest temperature of about 45 degrees is recorded in northern part of Madhya Pradesh. In May, highest temperature shift to Rajasthan, where we can observe 48 degree Celsius. In June, maximum temperature is observed in Punjab and Haryana. Okay, so if you see, gradually there is a increase in temperature as we move up. Okay, during the summer seasons. And the highest temperature recorded in the Rajasthan, that was done in 1950s and 1930s. More than 50 degrees Celsius was recorded during the summer months, during May in a place called Alwar, and so on and so forth. And the highest temperature are recorded just before the onset of monsoon. Okay, this is also another characteristic that we should know. Okay, and sometimes if you speak to old people, they say that it is too sunny, maybe we may get rain. Okay, and it is not what you say. It is not some illogic statement, but there's some science behind it, that as well. And in fact, the diurnal temperature is very high during the period of the time, and it is observed that more than 18 degrees Celsius is observed in some part of the country. The maximum summer temperatures are comparatively lower in the coastal and southern peninsula. Okay, because we have water bodies, though we have higher relative humidity, but probably the temperature is relatively lower. The temperature along the western coast are comparatively lower than the prevailing east coast due to prevailing westerly winds. Okay, this is another thing. Okay, so we can conceptualize how complex the phenomena is. Okay, there is a large contrast between land and sea temperature, and because of which we have seen, and think in the when we were discussing about the factors that influences the climate of a region, we have seen how what is the variation in the land temperature, and if you have water body, what happens, and how that cycle changes in just 12 hours time or 8 hours time. Okay, and what happens during night time and daytime. Okay, and if you go further, not during the summer, the northern and central part of the India experiences heat waves in this season. Okay, and what is a heat wave? If you have to technically define it, a heat wave is abnormally high temperature experienced by region. Temperature increases of the order of more than 6 to 7 degree is considered as moderate. If the temperature increase is more than 8 degrees Celsius, then it is called a severe heat waves. Okay, and this is one of the major problem that we face in the northern part of the India, and in fact we do have it, we do face such problems in the southern part as well. In fact, during our case studies for Birukam project, we did encounter, and we came across many incidences where people have lost life in the low income housing settlements here in Vijayawada as well, because of this heat stroke or heat wave effect. And most of the heat waves develop over Rajasthan, Punjab and Haryana. Okay, and from here they spread to Uttar Pradesh and Bihar. The strong northwesterly wind, okay, caused due to divergence of northwest India with a long land journey over hot regions, checks onward march of sea breeze over eastern coastal belt and creates a heat wave conditions over Odisha and Andhra Pradesh as well. Okay, so maybe like I said, it is not only temperature that is a problem. It is also because of the kind of wind pressure that we have during that period of time that creates a new phenomena, and we experience different situations because of the complex nature that we encounter. Okay, the heat wave strikes by the end of April, and their maximum occurrence is in May. They last until the onset of monsoon. During this period, okay, the normal duration of the heat wave is 4 to 5 days. In fact, in the recent past, more than 8 days were also observed. If you see the 2019 data, we can see that more than 7 or 8 days heat waves have been observed. However, heat waves are rare over the peninsula of South because of the local conditions that we have over there as well. And during this summer season, what happens on the pressure on the what is the wind pattern that we have, and what happens to the rainfall as well, we'll see now. Okay, the atmospheric pressure is low all over the country due to high temperature. Okay, but strong dynamically induced divergence over northwest India prevents the onset of southwest monsoon. Okay, and these lines indicates, for example, this has been observed over a period of time. Okay, when does southwest monsoon occur, and when it has occurred in 2020. Okay, And we all know this, but we all know this through the concept of climate change and sea level rise and so on and so forth. These patterns are changing, and it is evident from the data that we have in hand now. Okay, so probably we may redefine how we understand the climate in some time from now as well. Okay, winds in summer are marked. There is a marked change in the direction and the speed of the wind from winter. The winds are by and large light and variable. And during this period as well, there are two things that is observed. One is called Lu. I think I told in the beginning that in the Indian subcontinent, we in the northern part of the peninsula, we observe a different heat wave that originates from somewhere in the Arabian belt, and it crosses through the northern part of the India, and then it culminates in Bay of Bengal, okay, touching Arunachal Pradesh and so on. Lu is a strong, hot and dry summer afternoon wind from west, which blows from the Indo-Gangetic plain, and it crosses North India and creating a different characteristics. Like this is what I was saying. It originates way back somewhere in the Arabian landform, and then it crosses the Indian subcontinent. In May and June, high temperature in the northwest India builds steep pressure gradient, and as a result of this, hot dust storms are observed. Normally, it begins in the morning, and then it intensifies during the afternoon time, and it can take the speed of the wind during that period can be as high as 30 to 40 kilometer per hour, and it can last for a few days as well. Okay, the other phenomena or dust storm are Andis. The strong dust storm resulting from the convective phenomena are locally known as Andis, or blinding storm. They move like a solid wall and solid wall of dust. The velocity can be of 50 to 60. It's very intense, and it can heavily impact the visibility and during the period of time. Okay, normally this is observed in Rajasthan, Haryana, Punjab, and other parts of the northern India. Okay, and this is the second characteristics. Okay, one we have seen temperature, the other one is on pressure, the third one is on in addition to these two, we have thunderstorms that takes place during this season. Okay, is a very strong convectional movement related to the westerly jets leads to thunderstorm in the east and northeast part of the India. Okay, majorly there's a place plateau. Okay, Chota Nagpur, where this is highly observed during this period. Okay, the areas with highest incidence of thunderstorms are in Assam, Arunachal Pradesh, Nagaland, and mostly northeast part. During this period, severe thunderstorms are observed. And in addition to this, this is called frontal thunderstorm. There is northwestern and thunderstorms as well that occurs during this period as well. In West Bengal and adjoining areas like Jharkhand, Orissa, and Assam, the direction of squalls is mainly from the northwest, and they are called northwesters. and as a result of it as well, there's a change in the local observed conditions. Okay, so they cause heavy damage to crops, okay, building and livestock and so on. However, they are sometimes useful for some kind of cultivation, okay, and in fact in locally they expect or they make uh, they have a different characteristics or name associated with the local places. The period of maximum occurrence of these storm is in the month between March and April, and hence they are locally known as Kala Bakshis. Okay, the black storm or the dark mass, dark clouds, and so on. And this is another phenomena that also occurs during the same summer season, convectional thunderstorm during the summer season. In south, the thunderstorms occurs in Kerala and in some part of Karnataka and Tamil Nadu as well. That also can be observed during this period. Okay. And in addition to this thunderstorm, okay, we have something called western disturbances, like we have seen in the first during the winters as well. There is some disturbances, and during summers as well, we have this phenomenon called western disturbances as well. Their frequency and intensity gradually decreases with advancement of summer. Approximately 432 and western disturbances visit northwest India in March, April, and May respectively. Okay, so during March we can higher number of disturbances are observed, and it gradually decreases as we move further up. They cause snowfall in higher regions. We have seen the same thing in the first topic as well. Okay, and in addition to western disturbance, again, like we have seen in the other classification, cyclone also occurs during this period as well. Tropical cyclone originates in the Bay of Bengal or in the Arabian Peninsula as well. A few cyclones are formed in the month of March, but they do not affect the mainland India. Okay, their frequency rises steeply in April, and the number of cyclones originating in May is more than double the one that originates in the April. Okay, so gradually, that's why this is also called the retreating pre-monsoon season. Yeah, about 3/4 of the tropical cyclones are born in Bay of Bengal. Okay, most of the depressions occurs in April, and double of it occurs in the May. Okay, and those originating in May are born in the north of the latitude. Most of the storms in this season initially move west and northwest, but later they reoccur northeast and strike Bangladesh and east part of the country. And if you see further the characteristics of tropical cyclones during summer, very few hit Indian coastlines. Okay, the whole of the east coast of India, the coastal area of Bangladesh are hit by this storm during the month of May. Many of them are quite severe, causes heavy damage to life and property, and of course. And yeah, like I said, it is repeated again. The intensity of tropical cyclones that we see during the month of May is much higher, and the occurrence is also higher during this period of time. Yeah, I think I put it up here. Similar observations I put it up here. Okay. What happens to the precipitation? What happens to the rainfall during this summer season? Okay, this season is not totally rainless. Okay, we do get rainfall during this period as well. In northeastern part of the country, Dust storms bring little rain. The precipitation in Kashmir is mainly in the form of snow caused by the western disturbances during this period of time. Okay, and I have put one image that I've taken from the net. During June and September, how much rainfall that we receive throughout the Indian subcontinent. Okay, so you can see that plenty of rain, okay, in the western, southwest or western coast of India, okay, and also in the north east as well. Okay, probably we don't get any rain during this period of time, and as we go up slightly we have rains in Odisha and so on and so forth. And as per the text and as per the literature, the rain that we get in this belt, Gangetic Plain, is mainly because of the western disturbances that we have talked about. Okay, there is some word called nor'westers. An isolated rainfall and thunderstorm bring some rainfall in the Assam, West Bengal and Odisha. Okay, the intensity of rainfall is high during this period as well. Okay, they are known as nor'westers, okay, and also known as spring storm shower. This small amount of rainfall is very useful for cultivation of tea, jute, rice, and also locally they call it as tea shower. Okay, and I think every local places they have some local names to understand all this. For example, we have mango rains, something like that. Coastal areas of Kerala, okay, this is about in the north, okay, what happens in the northeast and the northern part, okay, and if you see the coastal areas of Kerala, Karnataka, we receive rain, this is what I was referring to. This is also locally called mango rains, okay. Such showers are also called mango rains in Tamil Nadu, Andhra Pradesh, because they are beneficial for the specific crop that happens during the time, during this time. Yeah, so that's about the summer seasons. So what during the rainy season, the similar characteristics can also be observed, and there's a change in the from the hot regions to start changing it to the maybe the end of hot season, and then we start getting rainy seasons from here on. Southwest monsoon season is also known as hot west season. Sudden onset is the important feature of the southwest monsoon. Okay, so this is what I was pointing out. The hot belt that we observe, or the hot summer days that we observe, it changes in the form of monsoon, and then the rainy season sets in from June and till mid September. Okay, with onset of monsoon, temperature falls drastically and the humidity level rises. Okay, we have to know that. And if you see the characteristics during this rainy season, okay, sudden onset of southwest monsoon, okay, can lead to a drop of temperature up to 6 degrees Celsius. Temperature remains less uniform throughout the rainy seasons. Okay, and if you see the other features, the temperature rises in the September with seas of southwest monsoons. Okay, there is a rise in temperature whenever there is a break in the monsoon. Okay, and the diurnal range of temperature is small due to cloud and cloudy condition that prevails during the entire rainy season. The highest temperature are experienced in the places again up to 40 degrees Celsius can also be observed during this rainy season as well. It has been recorded, in fact. Okay, so in the western part of the country. This is due to lack of clouds, the higher temperature, or because of the lack of clouds and hot continental air mass. Okay, so if you probably will be you're beginning to register this phenomena. Okay, the effects of hot air that is coming from the deserts. Okay, that has an impact on the northwest part of the country. Okay, and other parts of northwest India also the temperature can be as high as 30 degrees Celsius during this rainy season as well. Temperatures are quite low over western Ghats due to heavy rainfall. The coastal areas of Tamil Nadu and adjoining parts of Andhra Pradesh have temperature above 30 degree and they receive little rain during this season. And thus about temperature, if you see the wind pressure, okay, low pressure conditions prevail over northwest part of the India due to high temperature. Okay, and this also compounded by the western heat or the air mass that reaches that crosses the Indian subcontinent as well. Yeah, the atmospheric pressure increases steadily southward, okay, over the peninsular region due to the pressure gradient between north and south. Wind blows in a southwest to northeast direction. Okay, southwest to northeast direction. Okay, there is during this monsoon season we can observe the wind blowing in this direction. Their direction undergoes change in Indo-Gangetic plain where they move from east to west, okay, because of the physical or physiographic characteristics of the region and also compounded by the heat or the Loo effect. Okay, you can say that. During this season, during this rainy season, how much rain we get, how much rainfall we get throughout the country, we can say 3/4 of the total rainfall is received during this season. Okay, even though we can observe higher temperatures in some part of the country, but almost 3/4 of the rainfall that we receive, as per the literature, we received only during this period of time. Okay, the average rainfall over the Indian plain in this season is about 87% of the total rainfall that we receive in total annual. Okay, normal date of arrival of monsoon is 20th May in Andaman Nicobar Islands. The advance of monsoon is much faster in Bay of Bengal than in the Arabian Sea. The normal date of onset of southwest monsoon over Kerala, that is the first place of entry in the mainland, is 1st of June. The monsoon advances quickly, accompanied by a lot of thunder, lightning, and heavy downpour that we can expect here. The sudden onset of rain is termed as monsoon burst. Okay, there is another keyword that we may hear in the newspapers and so on. Sometimes monsoons are delayed or they come much earlier than normal. Okay, and I think I have shown in one of the observations. If you see 2000 data, and also if you see earlier, I think there was one image. Yeah, this was supposed to be historical data. Okay, and if you see the what happened actually, okay, how it has changed. Okay, and these are natural phenomena, and that is also observed and recorded. Maybe that will help in understanding the climate much better, or come out with more insight or new classifications and so on and so forth. Normally, the onset occurs between this May and June first week. The earliest onset was recorded in 1918 in May. Okay, we started getting rains as early as May in 1920s, and it has been delayed as well. Okay, there is a delayed set of monsoon as well that may also happen. That can also occur. That in history that has been recorded as well. Yeah, so this is the third classification, the third season that we have to know. That's about the rainy season. And the fourth season is on, it's also called the retreating monsoon or the cool season. Okay, that happens generally between September to October. Okay, that's where we are currently now. Let us see whether what we are experiencing and what is there in the literature is coinciding or there's a mismatch. Okay, so it starts with the beginning of withdrawal of southwest monsoon. Okay, middle of September to November, and the last early January. Okay, last till early January. Okay, probably we may get we can observe this situation till January or early January. Monsoon withdraws from the extreme northwest end of the country in the September, from the peninsula by October, and from the extreme southeast tip by December. Okay, gradually there is a reduction or there is a retreat in the monsoon that we can observe during this period of time. In Punjab and southwest, monsoons reaches in the first week of July and withdraws in the second week of September. Yeah. The southwest monsoon reaches Coromandel Coast in the first week of June and withdraws in the middle of December. Unlike the sudden burst of advancement of monsoon, the withdrawal is rather gradual, or it takes more than 3 months during to retrieve all the rain. Okay, this is the characteristics, predominant characteristics that we can observe during this period, cool seasons. And if you see the temperature during this period, with retreat of monsoon, the cloud disappear and the sky becomes clear. The day temperature starts falling steeply. The diurnal temperature increases due to lack of clouds in the environment. And as far as the pressure and winds are concerned, as the monsoon retreats, the monsoon weakens and gradually shifts southwards. Consequently, the pressure gradient is low. Unlike southwest monsoon, the onset of north monsoon is not clearly defined. Okay, so this is another characteristics that we should remember. The direction of wind over the large part of the country is influenced by the local wind conditions. We have seen this, and that has this can be observed in most part of the country. And as far as the cyclone is concerned, okay, during this cool season, more severe and devastating tropical cyclones originate in Indian Sea and especially in Bay of Bengal. The highest frequency of cyclones occurs in the month of October and November, and in fact, I don't know what is the recent name that is being kept for the cyclones. That is there a cyclone or it is just a spell of rain? We don't know. I'm not sure. So otherwise, probably we are in fact experiencing such phenomena in at least in the southern part of the country. Most cyclones are born in October and then in November, and more cyclones originate in Bay of Bengal and Arabian Sea. Okay, this I think I have said in the initial discussions as well. Nearly 55% of the Bay storm crosses and affects Indian coast. The areas most vulnerable to these storms include Tamil Nadu, Andhra Pradesh, Odisha and West Bengal. Okay, that's why if you see the syllabus also, if you see our syllabus also, there is much focus on text related to flooding, text related to cyclones, shelter planning, and so on. Okay, there's though we have discussions on earthquake resilient buildings or resistance buildings, we focus more on the other aspects of cyclone shelters and so on. Okay, many of the cyclones which strikes the eastern coast part of India south of 15-degree latitude crosses southern peninsula and enters Arabian Sea. Cyclones during retreat monsoon season. Okay, during this the same thing we were actually discussing. During this process, they may weaken, but on re-entry over the Arabian Sea, they intensify and form as a cyclone again. These storms of Arabian originate at a particular latitude, and during October they originate at 12 and between 12 and 17 degree north latitude in the Octobers, and between 8 and 13 degree latitude in the Novembers. And in fact, that's why we are able to position, okay, we locating cyclones or how it will where it will land and how much what is the intensity, all that we are able to map because of the continuous observation over a period of time that that we are able to assess. Generally, they move away from the coast in the north-westerly direction, but about 25% of them later recurve northeast and strike Maharashtra and Gujarat. Okay, in later part of the cool seasons. In northwest India, the western disturbances produces clouding and light rainfall during this period as well. Okay, the precipitation is in the form of snow in higher places like Jammu Kashmir, Himachal Pradesh, and so on. Precipitation, the humidity and cloud cover are much reduced with retreat of southwest monsoon, and most part of the country remains without rainfall during the season. October-November is mainly rainy season in Tamil Nadu and adjoining areas of Andhra Pradesh to the south of Krishna Delta, as well as in the secondary rainy period of Kerala. The retreating monsoon absorbs moisture while passing over Bay of Bengal and causes rainfall as well. Okay, so these are broadly we can see how we can understand how the seasons in India can be classified. Okay, like I said in the beginning, this may be confusing as well, but we have to understand. I think within this season, okay, we have to understand all the phenomena. Okay, temperature, what happens to the wind pressures, rainfall, and any other disturbances or any other phenomena that has an impact on that particular season. Okay, so similar such observations can be done for all the seasons, and then for example, let us say it is not, if we say it is a rainy season, it is not rainy season for all throughout the Indian subcontinent, right? Why? Because of these regions. Okay, there will be differences in temperature, there will be differences in the rainfall, wind speed, because of various other factors that has an impact. Okay, so this is the overall view of how we can understand the Indian seasons. Okay, I have put few things in to summarize overall in general. What are the things? What are the major features of Indian climate seasons or understanding? India has high regional climatic diversity because of its topographical diversity, location, altitude, etc., and so on. Yeah. So, like I was saying, we have certain influence in the northern hemisphere, We have sea. We have sea on both the side. This also creates some kind of impact on overall with climate pattern. And in fact, the most influencing factor is the Himalayan range that we have. That in fact the defining factor for Indian climate conditions. Okay, and like I said, two phenomena occurs. One is we get heavy rain, okay, monsoons, and then we get heavy high temperature as well for extended period of time. So both together is that's why the name is given as tropical monsoon for Indian subcontinent. As far as rainfall is concerned, during annual, now we are discussing annual, not with specific season. In general, if you see, the climate is the climate in most of the region is characterized by distinct wet and dry seasons. Some places like Thar deserts, Ladakh have no wet season. Mean annual rainfall varies substantially from region to region. Some places in the Meghalaya, okay, where we can receive around 1000 centimeters of annual rainfall, okay, where at Jaisalmer, okay, we receive hardly any rain at all, okay. This is the annual rainfall pattern. You can just see where we get excessive rains or plenty of rain, and moderate rain, and also where we have deficit rain conditions, okay, throughout the country. The Gangetic Delta and the coastal plains of Odisha see intense rainfall in July-August, while the Coromandel coast goes dry during these months. Places like Goa, Hyderabad, Patna receive southwest monsoon rains by first quarter of June, while the rains are awaited till early July in the northwest part of the India. And as far as temperature is concerned, diurnal and annual temperature range are substantial. Okay, there's a very huge difference. Okay, that we can observe in the entire Indian subcontinent as well. Highest diurnal temperature ranges occurs in Thar desert, and the highest annual temperature ranges are recorded in the Himalayan region. Both diurnal and mean annual temperature ranges are least in coastal regions, because more or less we have similar temperature that we can observe for a period of time. In December, the temperature dips to minus 40 degree in some places in Jammu and Kashmir, while many coastal regions and an average we have more than 25 degree. This I told you in the beginning of the discussions as well. We have very different temperature zones. Okay, even during winters we may have more than 25 to 30 degrees Celsius in South India, and where in North India we may have negative temperatures as well. Winters are moderately cold in most of the region, while summers are extremely hot. Himalayan regions experience brutal winter, while the summers are moderate over there. Yeah, this is the major observation from the entire entire Indian subcontinent perspective. And I have also put up a few things based on the literature. What causes these changes? Okay, so what causes these changes, and what are the physical factors that influences the change in the climate that we observe, and what are the other things that natural phenomena that have an imply or that has an implications on the season that we experience. Okay, among which the location. Okay, we have seen this in the earlier discussions as well. Latitude is one of the factors that has an impact, that influences climate majorly. Okay, another one is the location, the sea, the proximity to sea that we have, and how that influences the climate of Indian subcontinent. Himalayas, I have told you, Himalayas do. In fact, I was in the introductory discussion. I was telling, if that having Himalayas imagine if that was not there, the kind of temperature profile that we could have is very different from what we are experiencing now. In the same latitude, if you see other places, the kind of climate conditions they have is very different from what we have, and one of the major reason that is said is because of the presence of the Himalayan belt on the northeast. And physiography as well, there's a change in the characteristics of the landform throughout the country also have an impact on this. Monsoon winds, upper air circulation, El Nino and La Nino effects, okay, and also tropical cyclones and western disturbances. For each, I have put some diagram so that we can have some grasps of ideas what is that we are talking about. Indian climate responsible for the climate of the tropical country, okay. Because the mainland of India extends between 8° north to 37 degree north. Areas south of Tropic of Cancer are the tropics and hence receive high solar insolations. The summer temperatures are extreme and the winter temperatures are moderate in this region. Okay. In fact, if we can say, if we have to understand tropical climate, there is no other case better than Indian subcontinent to understand. Okay. The northern part of the northern parts on the other land lie in the warm temperate zone. They receive comparatively less solar insolations, but summer are equally hot in North India because of the local wind called Loo. I told you because of the wind that comes from the Iranian belt. Then winters are very cold due to cold waves brought by the western disturbances during winters. Some places in Himalayas record low temperature, particularly in winter. It can be as low as -40 as well. Coastal regions see moderate climate conditions irrespective of latitudinal change. Okay, and that's why we say that we don't have any seasons. We have only two seasons. Okay, one is rain and another one is sunny. Okay, so that's about the latitude. Okay, because of these things, there is the Indian subcontinent is the kind of climate that we experience in Indian subcontinent is very different. The second factor that also have an impact on the climate of our country is the proximity to sea. Okay, coastal regions have moderate or equable or maritime climate, where and interior locations are deprived of moderating influence of this sea and experience extreme or continental climate. We know this very conceptually. Water has an effect on the cooling effect on the immediate surrounding, and in fact we have seen some technically as well. Even if you have a small pocket of green or water content, there's something called oasis effect. Okay, so and having a water body of such a big mass will definitely have an impact on the immediate surrounding, right? So and as we have advantage at the same time disadvantage as well. The advantage is the temperature does not exceed, it is not as severe as in other parts of the country, whereas the central part of the country we may experience the inlands we experience very high temperatures during the same time. But the disadvantage is the increased relative humidity or the moisture content in air, and that will have a greater discomfort because of this close proximity as well. The monsoon winds first reaches the coastal regions and hence bring good amount of rainfall as well in this region as well. That's also one advantage of the coastal region. One is the cooling effect that we can encounter, and also the rain, as because this is since being the starting point of the monsoon setting, so we receive plenty of rain in the coastal regions. Like I was explaining in the beginning as well, and repeatedly saying, Himalayas have a greater impact on how the entire Indian subcontinent's climate can be observed. This is an important factor that influences Indian climate. The Himalayas acts as a climate divide between India and Central Asia. Okay, this is very profound statement. Okay, and we can easily understand this by looking at the other country on the world map. Okay, and if you see in the same latitude, what is the kind of seasons that they receive, and what is the kind of seasons that we receive, and what is the impact this Himalaya is creating on the Indian subcontinent. During winters, Himalayas protect India from cold and dry air mass from the Central Asia. During monsoon months, these mountains range act as an effective physical barrier for rain-bearing southwest monsoon winds. Himalayas divide Bay of Bengal branches of monsoon winds into two, one branch flowing into the plains regions towards northwest India and other towards southeast India. If Himalayas were not present, the monsoon winds would simply move into China, or most part of the North India would have been desert. Okay, this is their observation I've taken from the readings. Why rainfall decreases from this is from east to west in plain regions is also because of this phenomena. In summer, there are many minor low pressure cells that exist all over the plain region. Okay, as monsoon winds move from east to west, the moisture level decreases due to successive rainfall at the low pressure regions. By the time wind reaches the western part of the plain, such as Delhi and Himalaya, Haryana, all the moisture in the monsoon winds are exhausted. Then that's why we have differences in some places receiving rainfall, and some places does not receive any rainfall. Okay, and because of these phenomena that happens during the course of the time, they receive rainfall due to western disturbances in the winter. For example, the northern part, okay, is also, like I said, is influenced by the western disturbances. Okay, and because of that also there is an increase in temperature in some period, and there is a rainfall during some period as well. Okay, so that's the third factor that influences the Indian subcontinent climate. The fourth component is physiography. Okay, physiography is the most important factor that determines the mean annual rainfall received by each region. And in fact, we have seen this theoretically last time, that if this is a windward side, okay, and if the regions in these or they will receive plenty of rain, and we can say that these are rain shadow regions where the rainfall is drastically less, and it has an implications on the settlements over here as well. And in fact, we have different mountain ranges within this country, okay, and that sometimes acts as a barrier and also sometimes acts as a channelizer for wind and rainfall and so on. Yeah, the question like why some part of the country receive more rain and more wind is also because of this phenomena as well. Places on the windward side of an orographic barrier receive greater amount of rainfall, whereas those on the leeward side. This is what I was saying. The side on which the rainfall hits or the wind hits, it sheds all the excess water here. Only a fraction is left on the other side. Okay, so there is a because of this change in topography and change in physiography, there's observed differences in climate can be seen. Example: the southwest monsoon winds from Arabian Sea strikes almost perpendicular to the Western Ghats and causes rainfall in the western plain. Okay, and it slopes towards Western Ghats. On contrary, vast area of Maharashtra, Karnataka, Telangana, Andhra Pradesh and Tamil Nadu lie in rain shadow region. Okay, this is we in fact receive no rain during certain periods, whereas where the Kerala and some part of Karnataka, some part of Karnataka, they receive excess rain during this period as well. Okay, monsoon winds flow in Rajasthan and Gujarat are not obstructed by these kind of barriers, and this region receive almost no rainfall. And we have seen some places in Meghalaya, okay, where we can experience very heavy rainfall throughout this season. There is one term, copious rainfall in these places is due to funneling effect followed by orthographic upliftment. Okay, how do we understand this funneling effect? I think we have used this similar terminology when we were discussing about valley winds. Valley winds. The similar thing happens during the monsoon seasons as well. Because of that, clouds are channeled into a narrow region between mountains, and hence extreme rainfall can be observed in that particular small region. Okay, and mainly because of this physiographic characteristics of the land that we observe. And other thing is monsoon winds that also have an implications on how the different climates are defined. Okay, the most dominating factor of the Indian monsoon is monsoon winds. Okay, the important features of Indian monsoons are sudden onset, okay, sudden rainfall that we'll get, gradual progress and gradual retreat. Okay, these are characteristics of the monsoons that we can observe. Seasonal reversal winds can also be observed, and that also has an imply on the climate. The complete reversal of monsoon winds bring about sudden change in season. The harsh summer season suddenly give away to monsoon season or rainy seasons. The southwest monsoons from Arabian Sea and Bay of Bengal bring rainfall to the entire country. Okay, the northeast winter monsoon do not cause much rainfall except along the Coromandel coast after getting moisture from the Bay of Bengal. Okay, so there are so many factors that has an influence. One such factor is also monsoon winds that also defines how the Indian climate are to be understood from that. Then other factors that has an influence, the global phenomena that causes change in the observed climate conditions in Indian subcontinent is on westerly winds. Okay, and in fact the other things like westerly winds are these changes in the upper air circulation over Indian landmass brought by jet streams. These jet streams, westerly jet streams, blow at a very high speed during winter over subtropical zones, particularly in north part of the country. Southern branches of the jet stream exercises a significant influence on the winter weather conditions in India. And this jet stream is responsible for bringing western disturbances from the Mediterranean region to Indian subcontinent. And I have been saying this has got a greater influence on the climate that is observed in the northern India. Winter rains and heavy heat storms in northwest plains and occasional heavy snowfall in the hilly regions are caused by these disturbances. This is generally followed by cold waves in the whole of northern country. This similarly for we have talked majorly about the western jet stream. Similar thing happens in the east as well. Reversal in the upper air circulation takes place in the summer due to apparent shift in sun's vertical ray in the northern hemisphere. Okay, the westerly jet stream is replaced by easterly jet stream, which owes to its origin to bring the heat of Tibet plateau. This helps in sudden onset of southwest monsoon. Okay, so because of this change, this also one of the reasons why there is a sudden change, or why do we get sudden monsoon rains to start with. And other phenomena apart from the western and easterly jet streams, we have tropical cyclones. We have discussed this in the other topics as well. Tropical cyclones originate in Bay of Bengal and Arabian Sea and has gotten greater influence on how it impacts the Indian subcontinent. In fact, we have hazard zones. In fact, for all these cases, we have what do you say, hazard maps prepared by the Indian Meteorological Department and other agencies. Okay, that through that we can observe how the Indian subcontinent is getting affected because of this tropical winds. Okay, majority of the cyclones originate in Bay of Bengal and influences the weather conditions during the southwest monsoon and so on. Some cyclones are born, like I told in the beginning, its majority happens during October and November, and they have an influence on overall climate of the region. And then other global phenomena that also have an impact on Indian climate is El Nino and La Nino effect. Okay, the adverse effects of monsoon rainfall because of the variations in temperatures that is observed in the sea, and that also have an impact on the Indian subcontinent's climate. Okay, and there is one more word that is mentioned, that is southern oscillations. Okay, it's a combination of El Nino on the southern part of the continent. Okay, so these are the 8 factors that I have observed from the literatures on summarizing what are the factors that influences the climate of the Indian subcontinent. Okay, and how these have an implications on defining climates in each in the overall landform. Okay, so that's it from my side. If you have any questions, clarifications, probably we'll have. I'll also share the reference material for all this, from where I have taken these things, and so that if you need more information, probably you can read through for understanding it.